Okay, so welcome everyone for the presentation for today, AI-based optimization seminar. And our presenter today is Associate Professor Rong Qu, who is Associate Professor at the University of Nottingham. And her main research is in optimization, evolutionary computation, machine learning, and also I've been following some of her work on the combination of machine learning and evolutionary algorithm. And she's the associate editor at IEEE Transaction of Evolutionary Computation and also Journal of the Operational Research Society. And she's been active in many, as a chair in many IEEE Society committees. So please join me to welcome Rong Qu, and over to you, Rong.
Thank you for the introduction and also the invitation. Hi, I'm Rong. I'm from the School of Computer Science. The research lab it's called Computational Optimization and Learning. I think the name reflects quite well what we do in research. Okay, right. First of all, a quick overview of the university. We are right in the Midlands in the UK and have two satellite campuses, one in Malaysia and one in Ningbo, China. We have quite nice campuses. You can see upper right, it's the Jubilee campus. Okay, right. So the COL Lab was launched in 2019. Actually, the research group was built from 1998 and renamed to Computational Optimization and Learning to reflect the latest research developments. We have 9 academic staff in the research lab, working mainly on developing metaheuristic and evolutionary algorithms and machine learning for solving different problems, which you could have an overview here. So basically, we focus on different computational intelligence and metaheuristic algorithms and machine learning algorithms for solving different type of optimization problems in real world. With this objective, this aim in mind, quite often we found that depends on the problem, we'll need to choose the most appropriate intelligent algorithms. So this quite often involves the modeling of the problem before we can do anything. That's why I'd like to focus on sharing my experience of modeling the problems for solving real-world optimization problems. So if you look at the different applications in optimization, you can see they are quite different. I will focus on 2 of the problems and then provide some overview of how the modeling and then the optimization is done. Another observation we had during the last 20 years in the research lab is quite often when we try to deploy our algorithms solutions to the industrial partners, companies, organizations, we found there's still a big gap between the theory and the practice, as always. It takes them quite a long time, and for us, a lot of time as well, studying the problem, to model the problem, and then develop the most effective algorithms. So that's why we, in addition to modeling the problems, we are also focusing on how to automate the design of intelligent algorithms, especially in the last few years. So I'd like to present our work research in 2 parts today. The first is a modeling and applications of the combinatorial optimization problems themselves. And the second part would be on the modeling of the algorithms so that we can automate in the long go the design of the algorithms so they are easy to be deployed and understood by the industrial partners. So that's a long-term goal, but it's quite demanding and motivated, especially in latest research in this area. Okay, so I'll spend some time talking about the modeling and applications for solving the combinatorial optimization problems we encountered during the last 20 years. This is a quite successful application, workforce scheduling in healthcare. We know that in hospitals, they work 24/7, so they need to provide healthcare service, high quality, to schedule nurses of different grades and skills to different types of shifts, satisfying the coverage required every day. This is a project sponsored by EPSRC while providing intelligence solutions for our industrial partner, Alltech, in the Netherlands. So when they came to us, they came with a quite complex problem as shown on the screen. So basically in the hospitals, they are trying to provide the solutions. Every month, the head nurses, they have to spend at least 2 or 3 days working out manually the schedules of nurses across a calendar month. There are quite a lot of requirements due to legislations, and due to the changes from time to time, they have to spend additional time revising the rosters at the hospital wards. So they came to us asking for automated scheduling of the nurses to the shifts. So the first step in the modeling we spend is modeling the requirements into constraints. Hard constraints include the coverage and also different legislations. The soft constraints are preferences, including complete weekends, personal preferences, etc. Later on, with this modeling, we extend to formulate different nurse rostering problems across the whole Netherlands and also around the world. To give you this sustain and develop provide the underpin the development spin out company called Staff Roster Solutions. So to give an overview, this is the schedule of a calendar month. Each row is a schedule for one nurse, A, B, C, D, etc. And each column is the schedule of different shifts on each day. So for example, the first column, we need to schedule the 1 early shift, 2 day shift, and 1 day shift of head nurses, and 1 late shift and 1 night shift. So these are required across the calendar months. If you look at this, this is a complete schedule of all nurses. It's not the best one, for example, because this schedule of 2 night shifts violate one of the constraints. That is, we need at least 3 consecutive night shifts because night shifts are the most disruptive to the quality of life, affecting the quality of healthcare services. And this is a standalone late shift, also violating one of the constraints. And according to the legislation, they need at least 2 days resting after a sequence of shifts. So this also violates one of the constraints. This sequence of shifts, particular for nurse E, is not very good. Yeah, so we model this different type of shifts into different constraints into the model, and then extend it to define different data sets across the whole world available at this website shown here. So when the company came to us, they've already developed a genetic algorithm for solving this problem. But they are not quite happy with that. It took them at least 1 hour to get a good enough schedule for the nurses. So they'd like to have a better solution. What we did and proposed to develop is a hybrid variable neighborhood search, which you can see from this plot here, example here, reach the same quality schedule within 5 minutes, the same as what they can get within 1 hour. Yeah. So the reason of why this variable neighborhood search was so effective is we study the problem, model the problem first, and study the different, these characteristics of this problem in particular. If you look at this schedule here, you can see it's composed of sequences of shifts of different types. They are using genetic algorithm, which is not particularly good at satisfying the constraints in the problem. Nurse workforce scheduling problem is highly constrained. So the crossover in the genetic algorithm is not very effective, quite often lead to infeasible solutions. So variable neighborhood search is a local search algorithm. They won't disrupt the schedule very much, but focus on fixing and repairing the locally the violations of constraints. So that's why it's quite effective. So in this variable neighborhood search, we design different operators scheduling different lengths of shifts in the sequences. So it turned out to be quite effective in the end. We also have done additional modeling on shift sequences and developed quite effective approach later on in the research. So that's one example on workforce scheduling. The other quite successful application is the large-scale logistic fleet scheduling for Ningbo port in China, one of the busiest maritime ports in around the world. It's sponsored by Royal Society and NSFC in China. So the company requires effective routing from a depot to serve all the demands in a network of 9 ports in the Ningbo port region. Again, there are quite a lot of constraints, capacity of the vehicle, time window serving the different ports, and also there are some different features in the problem. Compared to the traditional vehicle routing problem, the pickup time and also the loading time, loading and unloading time are much longer compared to the standard vehicle routing problem, where this quite often ignored in the model. So we have to model this into the problem. We have to consider this into modeling first, and then define the problem as combinatorial optimization problem. The objective of the company is they like to reduce the rate of empty loads to reduce the environmental impact. So for example, if you look at this, this is a schedule of 1 vehicle serving 3 pots here, so represented as 3 nodes in the vehicle routing problem. So after serving task 1, loading the demands from pot 1, the vehicle will send it to pot 2, unload it, and pick up the load at the pot 2, and then send it to pot 3. However, there's no goods at pot 3 to pick up, so that's why the vehicle has to drive to pot 2 again, load the demands there. So that leads to an empty load drive. So the company would like to reduce this empty loads. So asking for intelligent optimization from us. Talking to the practitioners at Ningbo Pot, we find it's quite challenging to develop the idea of intelligent optimization algorithms. That's why we developed a hyper-heuristic method that's much easier to be understood by these practitioners at the Ningbo Pot. I'll explain more about hyper-heuristic in the later slides. So now we've extended further the problem model to consider serving, in addition to the 9 pots around Ningbo Pot region, the inland dry pots. So this would lead to a totally different new model because due to the legislation, the distance is much longer. So the company has to assign an additional driver to each of the vehicle, and due to the long distance, they can't return to the depot within the time window. So these 2 drivers can drive in turn and satisfying the legislation. We remodeled by adding a dummy depot in the model, and this new problem becomes new bi-objective optimization problem with mixed shift types. So again, we use hybrid variable neighborhood search and hyper-heuristics to solve the problem. Now the new challenge for us is to model and solve the dynamic container terminal truck dispatching problem within each of these pods. The work is ongoing. I will quickly skip through these other applications. This is the workforce scheduling and routing problem. So it's a hybrid problem, much more challenging because it combines both vehicle routing problem and also personal scheduling problem. The company Web Roster came to us asking for automated scheduling and routing solutions. What we did is to model this problem with integer programming and solve that use hybrid genetic algorithms. So to serve the regular visits from healthcare employees to patients located around the local region. So that's another successful project sponsored by Innovate UK. This multicast routing problem is also an interesting example because in addition to modeling the multiple constraints into multiple objectives, satisfying the constraints was sending data packages along telecommunication network. We also try to model the problem with the new network coding scheme. That demands quite effective encoding of evolutionary algorithms. So if you're interested, there's more research on modeling in these papers. And finally, another example, portfolio optimization. Based on the classic Markov portfolio theory, we remodel the problem with multiple objectives based on the multiple real-world constraints and solve the problem with integrated mixed integer programming and multi-objective evolutionary algorithms. So again, there are more details in the papers. Okay, so that's half of the time already spent on talking about modeling of the combinatorial optimization problems themselves. Now I'd like to spend the rest of the time talking about modeling the algorithms so that we can automate algorithm design in long term, increasing the generality and automation of designing algorithms. So this is a quite challenging but very interesting research direction we are focusing on. So the model is called General Combinatorial Optimization Problem. So I'll explain more details now. So if you think about the designing of algorithms, particular metaheuristic algorithms, including local search algorithms, population-based algorithms, we've already touched upon variable neighbor search and genetic algorithms. So when we are designing these algorithms, quite often we have to rely heavily on human expertise. That is to make different decisions to design the most effective algorithms according to the problems, the models. So in our research, we've tried to divide these decisions into different groups. For example, there are algorithm-specific decisions. In simulated annealing, we have to design the acceptance criteria, in particular, cooling schedule. In taboo search, again, we have to decide the taboo list. Variable neighbor search, very important decision is how to design different operators. In GA, of course, crossover, mutation. So these are all algorithm-specific decisions. In addition to this, we have also problem-specific decisions. So quite often, the operators, some of these are general, but some of these are problem-specific, only works for the particular problem in hand. Solution representation, there may be some general encoding applicable to a much wider range of problems, but there are some problem-specific encoding. Evaluation function, of course, is always problem-specific. So in terms of automating algorithm design, we're more interested in the general decisions. For example, acceptance criteria quite often can be applied across different problems within algorithm design. Stopping condition, another example, initialization, random method, for example, could be a general decision applicable in different algorithms. So if we want to automate algorithm design, we are interested in checking which of these decisions can be generalized in our model. So based on that, we further study the research in automated algorithm design in the literature and overviewed these three categories of automated algorithm design in our recent work published at IEEE CI Intelligent Computational Intelligence magazine. So if we think about the algorithm design as an optimization problem itself, it will concern the decision variables within the search space. So if with that in mind, we consider what's under investigation, what's under our concern in the search space of algorithm design, then we can divide the research in automated algorithm design in the literature into three categories. Yeah, so considering the decisions, considering the search space of algorithm design. If with a fixed or target algorithm in mind, we are trying to automatically configure the parameter settings or selections within these targeted algorithms, then this can be seen as automated configuration. So the aim is to optimize parameter setting so that the target algorithm is effective for solving our problem in hand. If with a given problem, we are interested in selecting from a family or portfolio of algorithms or solver. So which one of this is the most effective for solving the particular problem in hand, then this can be seen as automated selection of given algorithms. So what's quite interesting in this category of research is with the successful machine learning in recent years, this theme of research is actually turned into focusing on using machine learning to cluster the problems according to the problem features, so that for each of this cluster of algorithms, we classify them against a particular algorithm or solver in the family or portfolio. So it's kind of, you can see it as turned into a machine learning problem. Yeah, so that is how to cluster problem instances against different algorithms or solvers. So that's also quite interesting research. The third category or theme of research in automated algorithm design is how to combine or compose a set of basic building blocks or components of algorithms, so we can automate the design of new algorithms. So compared to the previous two themes or categories, this is probably the most flexible in a way that it considers in the search space the basic components of different algorithms. By combining them, composing them, we are designing new algorithms, which might not be designed by human being. I'll provide more details. Well, actually, this is a focus of the second part in this talk. Okay, so based on that, we've developed a new model called General Combinatorial Optimization Problem, which belong to the third category of automated algorithm design. So in this GCOP, General Combinatorial Optimization Problem, the decision variables in the search space are the algorithmic components, so different basic components in algorithms. So the different GCOP method can search for these components to combine or compose them into C. So each of the C is a new algorithm in the search space, capital C. Each of this will match direct solutions S, which are the solutions for the problem itself. So this means there are two levels in this model. The GCOP model in the middle, that's on the different algorithmic components. By combining this into new algorithms, we can search for the solutions at the lower level in the search space of the solutions themselves. So by defining this GCOP model, by searching for different algorithmic compositions, C, the GCOP methods at the high level can be seen as automating the design of different algorithms for solving the problems at the low level. At each of these two levels, GCOP and the problems solutions themselves, there are objective functions, and the objective function F for C match to the direct solutions S in the solution space. And then this objective of this GCOP model can be defined as to find the optimal C star, which is the best or most effective algorithmic composition. That is a new algorithm for solving the problem, finding the optimal solution for the problems themselves. Okay, so that's a basic idea of the GCOP model. For those of you who are familiar with hyper-heuristics, you can see this model framework is quite similar to that of hyper-heuristics. So to quickly give an overview of hyper-heuristic, in classic traditional metaheuristic algorithms, we search the solutions directly. So the metaheuristics, they operate upon directly on the solutions in the solution space. In hyperheuristic, we design different optimization algorithms to select heuristics at a low level, which can be applied for finding the direct solutions for the problems. So the motivation behind hyperheuristic is to increase the generality for solving, designing general algorithms for solving problems. I'm sure you're quite familiar with the no-free lunch theorem, which can be explained by looking at this plot here. So with our industrial partners, they are more interested in tailor-made algorithms, well, which can be seen as the solid line, red line in the plot. So that can be used to solve their particular problem very well. However, in research, we are also interested in designing general purpose algorithms, which are dashed blue line here, so which perform well across different types of problems. So the aim of hyperheuristic is to raise the average performance of this general purpose algorithm as high as possible. This new GCOP model is quite similar in the sense that there are also two levels, but the difference here is in the GCOP search space, C, capital C, the algorithmic components are all the basic elementary building blocks in designing the algorithms, rather than the low-level heuristics, quite often hand-picked or manually designed by the experts for solving the problems. So if you're interested, there are more details in this book. I have to say, at this stage, we've already built the basic GCOP model. Our next stage research is to extend this model to also, well, define generation algorithm, hyperheuristic algorithms. At the moment, it's more focusing on selection hyperheuristics. Okay, so this, to give an overview, I won't go into the details due to the time limit. These are the basic elementary components in this GCOP model. You can see these are quite general, well, which can be applied to most of the combinatorial optimization problems. To provide you some examples, we've tried to use some of these basic components to model the algorithms in the literature for solving vehicle routing problem and nurse-rostering problems. And these two tables provide the 3 and 5 basic components used to design the algorithms for solving these two very different problems. Quite interesting is for solving nurse-rostering problems. In the literature, well, researchers used mostly only these 3 basic elementary components designing their hyperheuristic algorithms. So that's quite interesting observation. For vehicle routing problems, we need more components compared to nurse-rostering problems. Quickly go through, we've done some fundamental theoretical studies on the search spaces of the algorithm design space and solution space. I'd like to highlight that the encoding for these two search spaces are quite different. In particular, in the algorithm design space, the encoding is quite simple, much simpler compared to the that of direct solutions, which is multi-dimensional, of course. Quite often, the compositions of algorithm design C is just a 1D string. So that can facilitate the effective analysis of the search space of the heuristic algorithm design. For example, these two plots are measuring the heuristic design combination C against the cost of the solutions they return. For one problem on the left-hand side, you can see they are correlated. So this algorithm design, different C, they are highly correlated against C cost. So this means it's much easier problem of algorithm design compared to the direct the algorithm applied to the direct solutions. However, on the right-hand side, that represent very difficult algorithm design problem. So there are additional analysis on these heuristic combinations. If you're interested, there are more details in the published papers. Another interesting observation is we have algorithm design space at the high level. At the low level, they match to different solutions. However, if you think about this particular solution D, direct solution D, the hypothesis is there a corresponding algorithm design C in the algorithm space, which it can match to. Yeah, so this leads to hybrid algorithms be designed, that is to add a local search in the solution space based on the high-level search. And then that turned out to be really effective. Okay, to wrap up, latest research to support automated algorithm design, we've developed a platform or framework with 5 basic modules. Each of these has correspond to different domain variables. We've seen some of the basic components in the previous table. So we are working on making this public for research use in the research community. The basic idea behind this GCOP model, another basic idea is, with this general elementary components in designing different algorithms, we can develop learning with the general framework so that the knowledge we can learn by using machine learning algorithms can be transferred into designing algorithms for solving different problems. Because the basic components, they are all elementary, applicable for solving different problems in different algorithms. So hopefully, compared to those tailor-made algorithms, the knowledge learned using different machine learning models can be transferable. We're actually working on it, and there are some promising results in our latest research. Okay, so finally, I'd like to present this open for discussion and invite collaborations. As I mentioned, we are trying to build the general search framework with the basic elementary components to support algorithm design. Hopefully, it's very easy to use. With this, we are collecting a large amount of data on algorithm design. So compared to the machine learning tasks in machine learning community, this probably present a very interesting new task. That is data, we collect the data of algorithm design. And then with machine learning, we can hopefully learn knowledge which is transferable for solving different problems. So that leads to the other direction of our future research, that is to integrate machine learning with optimization. So with this new knowledge of algorithm design, can we increase the reusability and interpretability of this algorithm design to support more advanced research across different disciplines? And in addition to that, of course, we're also interested in fundamental theory study, that is how to model algorithm design. The GCOP model is only one of the models which can standardize the algorithm design. I'm sure there are more interesting research, hopefully, next. The search space of algorithm design, not the direct solutions of the problems, That's also very interesting because it's much easier. That support more effective landscape analysis. Another the challenge issue topic is solution encoding. As I mentioned, this quite often is problem specific. How do we reach the generality of common problem representation encoding? Graph seems to be one of the possible promising encoding method, but we are open to new ideas and invite collaborations on this. Okay, so that's my time up. Thank you for your interest.